Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics. I'm Taylor Phillips, and welcome to Taylor's Detroit Sports on Spreaker. You can also find this and all other episodes of Taylor's Detroit Sports on iHeartRadio. Straight and full Detroit and Michigan sports coverage 100% of the time. If you have any opinions on everything that's going on in the Detroit sports world, call in or send a text message live on the show at 231-429-3668. Also, you can add me on Facebook as Taylor Phillips, online at facebook.com/TaylorGatorPhillips14. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page. Join my Facebook group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group. And follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips with 2 L's.
And this is 134, live and recording for archive. Please keep it playing. Lots to talk about today before Super Bowl 49 kicks off between the Patriots and the Seahawks. Start with the Red Wings here. Then we'll go to the Pistons, and then college basketball, including the in-state rivalry matchup between Michigan State and Michigan earlier today. Then we'll talk some Tigers and Lions. I'll have to make all subjects briefs, just to fit in the rest of the time. The Red Wings got a nice 4-1 upset win at the Joe Louis Arena over the New York Islanders yesterday. Islanders came on strong for the first couple minutes, but then they took a penalty, a very dumb penalty, because Tomas Tatar capitalized on it. But the Red Wings capitalized on it, courtesy of Tomas Tatar from Datsuk and DeKaiser at 5:29. And then the Red Wings would score a big goal from Brendan Smith on a snapper from Tomas Yurko and Riley Shahan at 19:13 in the second period. The Islanders would get on the board. Lubomir Vishnevsky with a wrister on the power play, putting the Isles on the board 2-1 at 5:24 in the third, into the third period. That's the only goal they would get, though. The Wings would pull away with a couple goals. One from Jonathan Ericsson, his third on the year. He's been a bit hot lately, making it 3-1 Wings with 9:21 at 9:21 into that period, and then the ice capper, Gustav Nyquist's power play goal at 13:08 from Zetterberg and Kronwall. Nyquist has got 20 goals. He just keeps racking up the points. From there, New York would not even try to come back. The Red Wings penalty killing unit actually did a great job, except giving up that power play goal. And I think Jonathan Ericsson is playing better since that game against the Minnesota Wild a week and a half ago. Like 12 days ago. The Wings have off until Thursday, the 5th, this Thursday, when they visit the Colorado Avalanche at Pepsi Center at 9 o'clock. Tatar's racking up the goals as well. Tatar's got 22. Datsyuk's got 22 assists. DeKaiser with 18 assists. Yurko with 11. Henrik Zetterberg with 31 assists. Cronwall with 23. Man, this roster's almost the entire roster's racking up the points, especially the assists. Because they're scoring more goals, and they're moving the puck more. They're making very good plays. And I just saw an article from Bleacher Report by Tom Ertz Jr. listing the defenders the Wings should target to solidify, in terms of trades, to solidify Stanley Cup candidacy. And there were about a couple others on the list besides Yandel and Tyler Myers. Keith Yandel and Tyler Myers. First off, we have Andre Sekera from the Carolina Hurricanes. The bottom-dwelling Carolina Hurricanes have no need for defenseman Andre Sekera, and the Red Wings' blue line would receive a major boost by dealing for him. The Red Wings are set with left-handed shots, but Sekera would be able to slide into a second pairing role with ease. Sekera is a solid defenseman that logs important minutes, and he has shown the ability to produce offensively. His advanced analytics are also very good, and he'd instantly become the second best defender on the Red Wings. Secondly, Cody Franson of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Wings have been looking for a right-handed defenseman for a while, and Cody Franson could be a perfect fit. He's got size at 6'5" and a booming shot that would help the power play. Prying him from the Toronto Maple Leafs could be tough, but the Wings have a number of young prospects that could attract the interest of general manager Dave Nonis. Nonis, N-O-N-I-S. General manager of the Leafs. With 29 points in 48 games. Franson is clearly a talented offensive defenseman, and adding him to the ranks would significantly strengthen Detroit's status as a cup contender. He's an impending free agent, but he's the type of player Detroit would try to add by free agency, so it could be worth the risk to trade for him and then attempt to negotiate an extension. Henrik Zetterberg and Pavel Datsyuk aren't getting any younger, and this year could be one of Detroit's top chances of winning a Stanley Cup for the first time since 2008. If you want to call in or text, the number for both is 231-429-3668. You can talk about how the Wings did yesterday and their trade possibilities. Josh George is from the Buffalo Sabres, is a third. He's playing for a terrible Buffalo Sabres team that will be a prime player in the McGuirk sweeps, and they could look to shed some veteran players at the deadline. The 30-year-old blue liner has 3 years left on his contract worth $3.9 million per year, and he would have to waive his no movement clause. While George's isn't an offensive juggernaut, he can log big minutes and play a physical game that wears down the opposition. Gores would probably welcome the opportunity to contend for a Stanley Cup, and his ability as a shutdown defender would bolster the Wings' defense in a big way. Oh, we got a fourth. Andrew Ferentz from the Edmonton Oilers. He used to play for the Calgary Flames. The fourth period.com reported that there's a chance the Edmonton Oilers could deal their captain before the trade deadline, and if that is the case, General Manager Ken Holland should be interested. Ferentz is a proven Stanley Cup champion defender and a solid veteran leader. He logs big minutes, is a solid skater, and he's a solid skater, and he plays larger than his 5'11", 187-pound frame would suggest. While the Red Wings could really use a right-handed defender, a player of Ferentz's caliber would certainly increase Detroit's chances of contending for the Stanley Cup because of what he would add to the lineup. And of course, Keith Yandle. The Red Wings have an interest in acquiring Arizona Coyotes defenseman Keith Yandle, according to the fourthperiod.com, and he would be amazing an addition to the roster if Holland could pull it off. Yandle is an elite offensive defenseman in his prime at age 28, and he would fit in well with the Red Wings. His mobility, puck handling, and howitzer of a one-timer would really bolster the power play, and he'd help the Red Wings 5-on-5 offense as well. Yandle would cost a pretty penny, but it would be an investment for the remainder of this season and next year. Detroit has enough assets, such as Tomas Jurko, Ryan Sproul, and Timu Polkinen, and Riley Sheehan, and so on, to consider dealing, so there's a chance a deal could actually come to fruition. So, who do you want? If you had to pick one out of those five, plus Tyler Myers, if you had to pick one of those six, who would you want? And what would be the best option for the Red Wings? 231-429-3668 is your number to call or text. You can call in in that number, and you can text in on that number as well. Let's move on to the Pistons. They beat the Houston Rockets 114-101. They welcome back Josh Smith, a former teammate of theirs. Who finished with just 7 points and 7 rebounds. Greg Monroe, Andre Drummond, and DJ Augustin also picked up a double-double. The fourth quarter was very high scoring. The Rockets wound up with 32 points in that closing quarter, while the Pistons got 28. It was a very big slugfest in that fourth quarter after the Pistons led 86-69. 86-69 here. That was a 17-point lead. Shrunk to 13, reduced a bit to 13. First win for the Pistons since their leading scoring point guard Brandon Jennings suffered a season-ending ruptured Achilles tendon. Contavious Caldwell-Pope was nailing threes as well. He did his job to bail out the Pistons defense, to bail out the Pistons offense, who turned the ball over at times. Back to Josh Smith. He got 3 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal on 3 of 11 shooting. KCP wound up with 11 points and 16 boards. Wait, that's Drummond. Andre Drummond got 11 points and 16 rebounds. Contavious Caldwell-Pope led the team with 28 points on 6 of 11 from three-point range. Added 5 rebounds and 4 assists, in addition to his 3 fast break shot blocks. That's all the blocks he had. James Harden led Houston in scoring with 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists after a first-half injury scare. Greg Monroe's double-double was 19 points and 12 rebounds. And DJ Augustin's double-double was 28 points on only 13 shots and 12 assists in 37 minutes. DJ Augustin, in other words, has filled in Brandon Jennings' shoes well. Very well. But so is Contavious Caldwell-Pope. Anybody can be Brandon Jennings. Especially a few other players on the Detroit Pistons roster. You can also comment on my episode of Taylor's Detroit Sports, episode 134 on Spreaker. You can also find this on iHeartRadio. Call in or text message at 231-429-3668 about the Wings and Pistons. The Pistons' next game is Tuesday, when the Miami Heat comes scorching into the Palace. Then the Pistons go to Indiana again and play the Pacers at 7. Then they return home Friday against the Denver Nuggets. They look for some revenge there. And speaking of revenge, next Sunday at 6, they're home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's take a look at the standings here. Pistons stand at 10th place at 18-30. Just a game back of the Brooklyn Nets at 18-28. 2.5 back of the Charlotte Hornets for the 8th spot. Charlotte is 20-27. The Rockets dropped to 33-15 in 5th place in the West. The Atlanta Hawks lead the East at 40-8. Atlanta has yet to fall into double digits in the loss column. So have the Golden State Warriors, who lead the West at 37-8. Those are the only two teams in the NBA that have single-digit losses. Just the two East and West Conference leaders in the NBA. Speaking of single digits, the Timberwolves have yet to rise up to double digits in the win column. They're 8-39. Ouch! And the New York Knicks at 9-38, dead last in the East. Wolves are dead last in the West. Wow, that's just terrible. What's happening to them? I think the Pistons should rout the Timberwolves without Brandon Jennings. And I still think they can make the playoffs, too, without him. Moving on to Michigan and Michigan State. The Spartans beat the Wolverines 76-66 in overtime at Breslin Center. The Wolverines lost their point guard, Derek Walton Jr. to a very painful toe injury. According to head coach John Beilein, he won't be back for the foreseeable future. Apparently Derek Walton Jr. needs toe surgery, and that's terrible for the Wolverines. Speaking of season-ending injuries, I'll get to the injury right after I read the recap here. First, let me tweet this out. Walton Jr. missed today's game with a foot ailment. That's the toe injury that I just mentioned. Spartans won the overtime period 10-0. Denzel Valentine led the green and white in scoring with 25 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals. Senior forward Brandon Dawson added a double-double of 19 points, 10 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. Spike Albrecht and Muhammad Ali Abdur-Rahman led the way for the Wolverines with 18 points each. Brendan F. Quinn of MLive.com noted that the Wolverines were dealing with some injuries before the game, while Joe Rexford of the Detroit Free Press pointed out what that meant for the Spartans. Quote-unquote from Quinn, Derek Walton Jr. is not dressed. He's on crutches and wearing a boot. And from Joe Rexrode, with Derek Walton joining Karis LeVert on the sidelines, MSU really has no excuse for losing this game today. Both teams are good, in my view. They're not terrible. They're both not terrible. And MSU won in overtime. They scorched U of M in overtime 10-0. The Wolverines got off to a 15-8 lead to start the ball game. But the Spartans would come back and take an 18-17 lead. And then Denzel Valentine would hit 2 late 3-pointers to propel the Spartans to a 29-24 halftime lead. Despite only shooting 29% from the field and 54.5% from the free throw line as a team in the first 20 minutes. The Spartans were... Michigan State was shooting poorly on this, according to this Bleacher Report article. But Tom Izzo, the head coach of the Spartans, was likely thrilled to be beating his arch rival, given his pregame comments. He, quote unquote, "The old cliche is keep it one game at a time, but who's kidding who? There are games that are bigger than others. It's nice for media, it's nice for conversation, it's not nice for reality. This game should mean more." What I tell my guys, it doesn't just mean a lot because you're from the state of Michigan. Alabama and Auburn have a hell of a rivalry, and every kid isn't from Alabama. It's the school you play for, it's who you are. Michigan in the second half will take a 37-36 lead. Abdur Rahman was 7 of 8 from the field. And then the Maize and Blue went up by 5, 45-40 with 13:04 left in the second. Spartans came back with an 11-3 run to go up 51-48. But then Spike Albrecht tied it at 51 with a 3 with 7:53 to play. And then Albrecht and Irvin drilled 2 3-pointers in a span of a minute to put Michigan back up 54-53. It was like back and forth and so on. 11 lead changes in the second half. That's one of the great aspects of this in-state rivalry. This in-state arch rivalry. The biggest of all in the state of Michigan, the Wolverines and the Spartans. The Wolverines took a 61-59 lead with under 4 minutes left in the second half. But the Spartans tied it up with an alley-oop from Valentine to Dawson. And then Sparty would lead 66-61. 10 straight threes. The last one from Bryn, hit by Bryn Forbes. A jumper steal, great pass to Forbes for a corner 3. Then Albrecht drilled another 3 to make it 66-64. In the clutch minutes. And then Max Bielfeldt in part of a scrum. Tapped one in to tie the game at 66 and force overtime. Then a quick basket and 2 free throws for the Spartans to start overtime. Aubrey Dawkins ended up fouling out. And the Spartans would score 2 more on another inside basket to create some separation to lead 72-66. And they would go on to win 76-66. They did not allow a point in overtime. Just posted this article on Facebook. What's next? Michigan State will look to carry over some momentum from Sunday's win when it hosts Illinois on Saturday. The Spartans are not a lock to make the NCAA tournament at this point and need to rack together wins in the conference to secure their bid and climb up the Big Ten standings. After all, Wisconsin is still well within striking distance with a 2-game lead on Izzo's squad in the loss column. Michigan returns home for a Thursday clash with the Iowa Hawkeyes at Chrysler Center, while the Wolverines deserve some credit for the way they battled through foul trouble and injuries on Sunday. It is difficult to envision a second-half charge in the Big Ten schedule without Levert and with Walton still hampered for the time being. A win at home against the Hawkeyes would certainly help the cause. The Central Michigan Chippewas kept their undefeated streak at McGuirk Arena this season alive with a 74-69 win last night over the Ohio Bobcats. We're overseeing life here. Let's get another sip of water here. No, that's not it. That's against Eastern Michigan. Oh, jeez. Come on. Yeah, they're way behind. Wait a second. Oh my, I've been called for dinner.
I got 10 minutes left on my episode. I'll be up. I got 10 minutes left on my episode. I'll be up.
Yeah, as I just said, I got 10 minutes left. Oh. Jeez. to CMUchippewas.com and try to hurry this up. Chris Fowler led the Chippewas in scoring with 17 points. John Simons with 16. Austin Stewart added 10. Chips improved to 15-4 overall, 5-3 in the MAC, 12-0 at home, and they play their next two Wednesday at home against Bowling Green and Saturday against arch rival Western Michigan at McGuirk. Javaris Willis led the Bobcats with 14 points. Bobcats dropped to 7-12 overall, 2-6 in the MAC. Ryan Taylor and Antonio Campbell added 12 each. Maurice and Doer had 11 points and 14 rebounds. So let's talk Tigers here. Oh, by the way, the Pistons are linked to Mo Williams, and they also plan to sign point guard John Lucas III to a 10-day contract. What are your thoughts on that? 231-429-3668 is the call and text number. Name and town. Heard earlier this weekend that the Boston Red Sox are willing to trade Edward Mujica from the score.com. Mujica is set to earn $4.75 million in 2015 and may be deemed expendable after the reported signing of right-hander Alexei Ogando on Friday. Ken Rosenthal of FoxSports.com, the MLB insider, did not elaborate on potential trade partners that may be interested in the right-hander. Could the Tigers be a possibility? I'm going to read some comments here. Dave Lavoie on one of the two Detroit Tigers groups says, "No thanks. I'd rather take a shot with some of our young kids. Put a couple emerging SP talents in the bullpen for a year. This is something that the Tigers never do. St. Louis in the NL is famous for this. They take future SP prospects and break them in for a year pitching relief. They get their feet wet in lower pressure situations, and the team gets to see what they have. I think it's a very good formula. Tigers have several candidates for this role this season." Tom Haggerty says, Bohica. Oakland does that well too. Steve Canos writes, if the Tigers went that route, Dave, as you say, they haven't yet. The only righty I see that would potentially fit the bill is Drew Verhagen, and even he was hurt and somewhat subpar much of the time in his first year at AAA. The other good starting prospects aren't ready yet, as they have not yet got their feet wet at AA. The exception was Buck Farmer, who was rather unnaturally accelerated through the system. On the left side, it's a little different with Lobstein and Ryan, but they already have some depth in relief there. Hopefully it's quality enough, or quite enough. I don't really get the Red Sox signing often injured Ogando for potentially giving up Mujica. Maybe they feel Mujica is now making too much in light of their other moves. $4+ million may be too rich for the Tigers' blood unless they could get rid of a contract in the process. The Red Sox also puzzle me, as they seem to be keeping the glut of outfielders they have going into 2015 intact so far. Mark Bottenhorn writes, I honestly don't think Dave Dombrowski will make many more moves this season. We will see. He may tweak it a little. I agree with that last part. Robert McBride says, Dave, I agree wholeheartedly. Years ago, the Tigers did that with SP, starting pitching from both ends of the spectrum, youngsters just getting up to the show, and oldsters as their skills declined a bit. It was great on a four-man rotation, as any of them could spot start, long relief, whatever the need. Mark Bottenhorn writes again, the pitchers are not lasting longer today with a 5-man rotation as compared to a 4-man rotation. In some cases, they are lasting less. A 162 game season is grueling as a starter in today's world. Medicine, technology, and healthcare is much better today also. Steve Canio, I think it's a good idea also. I just don't see the candidates outside of Verhagen right now. Yeah, back in the 60s, Woody Fryman, John Hiller, Dave Wickersham, Juan Bergener, Laren Lagro, well, Eddie Bonine just ran out of gas. Nowadays, relievers seem to have as much arm trouble as starters. Isar was 60s, but obviously LaGros was 70s, 80s, Bonine several years ago. Jamie Benenet said, the first postseason I can remember, Dad, why did he just wing his bat at the pitcher's head? Hooked for life. That's all. Thomas Murray writes in the other Detroit Tigers group, again, the Tigers are going to spring training with the roster they have, and unless there's problems in Florida, there will be no changes. Just my opinion. Jason Knudsen writes, unless it's an additional roster bumping Simon to the pen, no, and I don't see the Tigers reaching out to any of the leftovers on the market. Let's go to the Lions. They are still the favorites to re-sign defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh, and I heard from Pure Mich Sports at Pure Mich Sports All About Michigan on Twitter that they are close to re-signing Suh, which means if they do, then people would assume the Lions can't re-sign Calvin Megatron Johnson, their star wide receiver. And I still think there's a possibility they can keep both. But less than a minute to go. I will let you enjoy the Super Bowl. I wrap this up. This has been Taylor's Detroit Sports episode 134. TTFN, talk to you. Ta-ta for now. Talk to you later this week. And on Blog Talk Radio Sunday night at 11.